This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
Welcome to Business Conversations with Pi and Piet 2.0, where the advice is real, but the voices are AI. I'm Scoob, and we're harnessing cutting-edge artificial intelligence to tackle real-world business challenges and deliver actionable strategies you can implement right now. Joining us is our newest AI voice, Piet, sharp, insightful, and ready to challenge conventional wisdom. The questions are real, the data is vast, and the insights game-changing. So buckle up, Scoob believers. It's time to get across the start line. Let's dive in.
You know those old cartoons where the character is frantically laying down the train tracks while the train is literally speeding right behind them?
Oh, yeah, inches away from the wheels.
Exactly. And that frantic, just pure survival mode is exactly why one of our listeners wrote into 2podcast.net as core with the deceptively simple question.
Let me guess. It's about time management.
Basically, yeah. The question was, where should I actually be focusing my time as a solo founder?
Ah, man. That is like the core struggle of the solopreneur right there.
It really is.
Because the default advice out there, it isn't actually a strategy. It usually just boils down to generic hustle culture.
Right. The whole wake up at 4 a.m., take a cold plunge, and grind for 100 hours a week until something breaks.
Yeah, and usually the thing that breaks is you.
Which is completely unsustainable. I mean, as a solo founder, you are the CEO setting the vision, but you're also the intern fetching the coffee.
And the marketing department writing the tweets.
Exactly. And the janitor sweeping up the mess at the end of the day. So today, we are tearing up that generic grind harder advice.
Good. It needs to go.
We're synthesizing a massive stack of sources for this deep dive today, from seminal Y Combinator essays to product market fit frameworks to solopreneur playbooks.
So we're building a customized, energy-driven time management engine.
That is the mission. But I guess before we even think about hacking a calendar or color coding a day, we have to know what we're actually scheduling, right?
Absolutely. I mean, a calendar is just an empty container. For a solo founder, the macro destination, the only thing that truly matters in the beginning is achieving product market fit.
PMF.
Right, PMF. Yeah. Because if you don't have that, optimizing your time is really just getting to a dead end faster.
I hear product market fit thrown around constantly, but it always feels so, vague.
It does.
Like the classic definitions are usually lagging indicators. Things like, reporters are suddenly calling you, or investors are knocking down your door.
Yeah, and by the time those things are happening, you've clearly already hit it.
Exactly. So how does a solo founder measure it when it's literally just them in a room with a laptop?
So that was the exact problem Rahul Vohra faced. He's the CEO of Superhuman.
Okay.
And he didn't want to just, launch into the void and hope for the best, which is reckless when you're bootstrapping.
Obviously.
So he turned to a leading indicator developed by Sean Ellis. Instead of looking at revenue or press, you ask your current users one highly specific question.
Which is?
How would you feel if you could no longer use the product?
Oh, interesting. And the choices are usually things like very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, or not disappointed.
Precisely. And the magic benchmark you were looking for is 40%.
40%.
You need 40% of your users to answer very disappointed. If you hit that number, you have a gus line for sustainable exponential growth.
Wait, 40% feels is that high?
It's rigorous. To give you some context on how rigorous that is, back in 2015, Slack polled about 700 of their users.
Okay, and what was their number?
51% said they would be very disappointed if Slack disappeared.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that is the gold standard of product market fit.
Wait, so if I'm a solo founder looking at my week, my absolute first priority is isolating those specific people, the ones who would be very disappointed.
Yes. The sources call them high expectation customers, or HXCs.
HXCs. Okay, but once I find them, how does that translate into a daily schedule?
It becomes a very strict math equation for your product roadmap. The framework suggests dividing your developmental time exactly in half.
Exactly 50-50.
Right.
Yeah.
You spend 50% of your time doubling down on what those high expectation customers already love.
Making the core experience faster, more intuitive, that sort of thing.
Exactly. You solidify your base.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the other 50%?
The other 50 goes toward the users who answered somewhat disappointed, but with a massive caveat.
Uh-oh. What's the caveat?
You only focus on the somewhat disappointed users who actually value your core benefit but are holding back because of, say, a missing feature or a bug.
I see. But I'm struggling with the third group, though.
Then not disappointed, folks.
Yeah. What do you do with the users who say they would be not disappointed if your product disappeared? Because human nature, especially founder nature, is to try and win everyone over.
Oh, completely.
It feels unnatural to just leave money on the table like that.
Well, you have to politely ignore them.
Really, just ignore them.
This is where most solo founders bleed time. They try to build a Swiss Army knife to please the people who are never going to love the product in the first place.
Oh, wow.
You just cannot afford the cognitive load of building features for tourists. You only build for the people who want to move into your ecosystem permanently.
That requires a ton of discipline.
Yeah.
But even if you are ruthlessly prioritizing that 50-50 split, you still have to, execute the work.
Right.
And this is where the sources shift from the math of the product to the psychology of the founder.
To do this without burning out, you have to operate in what psychologist Gay Hendricks calls the zone of genius.
Yes, this concept was so foundational because it completely divorces time from productivity.
It really does. Hendricks categorizes all our activities into 4 zones.
Okay, let's break them down.
First is the zone of incompetence. These are things others do significantly better than you, and doing them just drains your will to live.
For me, that's accounting.
Exactly. Then the second is the zone of competence. You're fine at it, but anyone else could do it just as well.
And then there's the third zone, the zone of excellence.
Hmm.
When I was going through the research, this stood out as the biggest trap for a solo founder.
Why did that strike you as a trap?
Because excellence sounds like exactly where you want to be. But the sources argue it's actually incredibly dangerous.
Because you're too comfortable.
Well, because these are activities you are genuinely highly skilled at. You're probably better at them than most people you know. And because of that, you get a lot of praise, and it feeds your ego. But if you sit down and are really honest with yourself, those tasks are secretly draining your energy reserves.
Interesting.
Yeah, I look at the zone of excellence kind of like eating fast food.
Unpack that a bit. How does excellence equate to fast food?
Well, think about when you eat a burger and fries from a drive-thru. It feels highly satisfying in the exact moment you're doing it.
Sure, it hits the spot.
It's easy, you know the exact result you're going to get, and it solves an immediate problem. But an hour later,
You feel terrible.
you feel sluggish, your brain is foggy, and it completely kills your physical momentum for the rest of the afternoon.
That makes a lot of sense.
The zone of excellence is the same. You knock out a complex spreadsheet because you're great at it, you feel a quick hit of accomplishment, but then, well, you don't have the creative energy left to do the actual visionary work your company needs.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. That heaviness you described is the core issue. Time spent on a task does not correlate with output. Energy correlates with output. Which brings us to the 4th zone, the zone of genius. These are the activities you are uniquely wired to do.
The flow state stuff.
Right. When you are in this zone, time and space seem to compress. You actually generate energy by doing the work.
So the macro goal is clear, right? Figure out your 40% PMF metric and execute it by spending as much time as humanly possible in your zone of genius.
That's the dream.
But that realization leads to a massive structural problem. If we know what we need to do, why does looking at a daily calendar fill most solo founders with absolute dread?
Because of the inherent conflict in how we perceive time in the modern working world. We turn to a seminal essay by Paul Graham of Y Combinator here.
Oh, this essay is legendary.
It really is. He articulated a concept that fundamentally changes how you view a workday. The maker schedule versus the manager schedule.
This was eye-opening for me. The manager's schedule is what we all grew up seeing. It's the traditional appointment book.
Your day is sliced into crisp 1-hour blocks.
Exactly. It's the schedule of command and coordination.
Yeah.
You have a meeting, you make a decision, you change context entirely, and you move to the next hour.
But the maker schedule, the schedule of programmers, writers, and solo founders actually building a product, it just cannot operate in 1-hour increments.
Why not?
Because to create something complex from nothing requires half-day blocks. An hour is barely enough time to open your laptop, review your previous work, and load the entire architecture of the problem into your working memory.
And this is where the collision happens. If you are operating on a maker's schedule, a single meeting placed in the middle of your afternoon isn't just a loss of 60 minutes.
Oh no, it's a structural disaster.
It fractures the afternoon into 2 smaller chunks that are both completely useless for deep work.
Furthermore, the cognitive anticipation of that meeting acts as a background processor that drains your focus.
Like having too many tabs open.
Exactly. You know you have to stop at 3 p.m., so your brain refuses to dive into the deep end at 1 p.m.
I think of it like sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking.
Yeah, when you're in deep maker mode, you are essentially in a trance.
Right.
If someone schedules a quick speculative coffee right in the middle of your day, it's like walking up to a sleepwalker and violently shaking them awake.
Oh, that's jarring.
You snap them out of that deep cognitive state, and when the coffee is over, they can't just close their eyes and instantly fall back into the exact same dream. The momentum is totally shattered.
The cognitive cost of context switching is just astronomically high for a solo founder, but this raises a glaring paradox.
Which is?
A solo founder isn't just a maker. By definition, they are also the CEO.
Right. They have to do sales calls, they have to answer customer support emails, negotiate with vendors.
They must act as a manager. So how do they survive if these two schedules are fundamentally incompatible?
The solution the sources point to is aggressive partitioning. You have to artificially construct boundaries to protect your maker time.
Yeah, Paul Graham wrote about how in the 90s his solution was pretty extreme.
What did he do?
He would program from dinner until 3 a.m. because he knew absolutely no one would interrupt him. That was his unbroken maker block.
Wow.
Then he'd sleep, wake up late, and do all his business stuff, his manager tasks, until dinner.
I mean, working until 3 a.m. isn't a sustainable prescription for most people, especially if you have a family.
No, definitely not. But the underlying architecture of his solution is what we need to extract here.
Okay, so how do we apply that without ruining our sleep schedules?
You can simulate the manager's schedule within a maker's week by aggressively clustering your interruptions. Graham later adapted to using office hours at the very end of his day.
Ah, so batching everything.
Right. All meetings, all calls, all quick questions are batched into a narrow window right before dinner. It compresses his total working hours, but it ensures his deep flow state is never punctured earlier in the day.
Okay, but even if you perfectly partition your day, let's say you've successfully guarded your morning for deep maker time, it doesn't matter if you spend that entire protected block working on the wrong task.
Very true.
How does a solo founder actually filters the daily noise? Because your to-do list as a solopreneur is effectively infinite.
This requires moving from the structural focus to the tactical focus. You need a robust filtering system.
What do the sources suggest?
They suggest starting with Darren Persinger's top-down model.
Okay.
The default behavior for most highly driven people is to cram all their work obligations into the calendar first, right? And then try to fit their life into whatever scraps of time fall through the cracks.
Pretty much everyone does that.
The top-down model entirely inverts this.
It schedules in this exact order, right? People, personal projects.
Right. People first means blocking out time for your family, your partner, your key relationships before a single business task is written down.
Right.
Personal second refers to the maintenance of the machine. Your workouts, your reading, your sleep.
I can hear founders listening to this right now, rolling their eyes, thinking that sounds like really soft advice when they have a product launching in 2 weeks.
It sounds soft until your health collapses and your revenue goes to zero.
Fair point.
As a solo founder, you are the entire engine of the business. If you ignore the maintenance of the engine, the vehicle stops moving. Period.
So life doesn't fit around work. Work must fit around life.
Exactly. Only after those are scheduled do you move to projects last.
Okay, so we're at the projects phase. The engine is maintained, the maker time is blocked. Most of the people listening to this deep dive are already familiar with the classic tools to filter tasks.
Like the Eisenhower matrix.
Yeah, where you categorize things by urgency and importance.
Right.
But here's what I really want to know. If we all know that we should be spending our time in quadrant 2, the tasks that are important but not urgent, the strategic long-term work, why do solo founders notoriously fail to actually stay there?
Oh, because the human brain is not a rational prioritization machine. It is a dopamine-seeking machine.
Wow, okay.
Urgent tasks like a ringing phone, an angry email, a server alert, they spike our adrenaline. When we resolve them, we get an immediate dopamine hit.
It feels productive.
It feels incredibly productive. Quadrant 2 tasks, like writing a new marketing strategy or redesigning an architecture, they offer no immediate chemical reward. They require heavy, sustained cognitive lifting.
So we default to the busy work because it feels better in the moment.
Precisely.
The sources mention other tactical frameworks to combat this, though. like the ABCD method, where you identify the top 20% of tasks that actually create lasting value.
Or utilizing 90-minute work bouts of extreme disconnected focus.
Yeah, and there is also the famous eat that frog method.
Right, where you tackle the single hardest, most uncomfortable, procrastination-inducing task first thing in the morning. Once the frog is eaten, the psychological weight is lifted from the rest of your day.
But wait, if I look at all these tactics, they actually kind of contradict each other.
They do.
Do I block out 90-minute work bouts, or do I just eat the frog immediately? Do I use a matrix, or do I just focus on the 20%? How do I choose?
This is perhaps the most crucial realization in the entire time management landscape. It depends entirely on your entrepreneur DNA.
Entrepreneur DNA.
Yeah, there is absolutely no one-size-fits-all productivity hack. The sources emphasize that our struggles with time management are deeply rooted in our innate psychological profiles.
I love this concept. If you are a visionary type, your brain is constantly generating new ideas. You might lean heavily toward the 80-20 rule, focusing purely on high-impact tasks and ignoring the details.
Right.
But if you try to force a visionary to use a strict 15-minute time-blocking system, it's like trying to run a diesel engine on unleaded gas. It will completely sputter out and stall. The friction will cause massive burnout.
Exactly. Conversely, if you are an architect or an innovator, your brain craves structure. You need that rigid time blocking to feel secure enough to do deep work.
Makes sense.
Or if you are a hustler profile, you thrive on momentum and action, which means eating the frog early in the day is the perfect catalyst for your energy.
So you cannot adopt another founder system just because they went viral on social media for it.
Definitely not. You have to audit your own psychology and implement the framework that leverages your natural inclinations.
Okay, so you've found your DNA. Your calendar is blocked. Your tasks are filtered, and you're operating in your zone of genius. But a solo founder's schedule doesn't exist in a vacuum, right?
Unfortunately, no.
It is under constant attack from reality. Software breaks, clients panic, markets shift, which brings us to the final hurdle: building guardrails to protect this entire system.
A framework without guardrails is little more than a wish. The golden rule for protecting your time from the chaos of reality is a strict 3-step sequential process.
Eliminate, automate, delegate.
And the sequence is non-negotiable.
Because if you do it out of order, it backfires completely. The sources explicitly warn to never, ever delegate broken systems.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
If your inbox is a disorganized mess and you just hand the login to a virtual assistant, you haven't bought yourself freedom. You've just become a middle manager of your own mess.
Precisely. First, you must rigorously eliminate the task. Ask yourself, does this actually serve my goal of getting 40% of my users to be very disappointed without me?
And if the answer is no,
Stop doing it entirely. Just cut it. If it absolutely must be done, look to automate it. Can a piece of software, a Zapier integration, or an AI tool handle this reliably?
and
Only when a necessary task cannot possibly be eliminated or automated do you look to delegate it to a human being.
And when we talk about delegation, there is a fascinating, highly counterintuitive piece of advice in the sources here.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
They argue that solo founders should buy back their personal time before they ever try to buy back their business time.
Which is often a very hard pill for founders to swallow because it feels, self-indulgent.
Right. A founder will happily spend thousands of dollars on business software, but they feel guilty paying $50 to have someone mow their lawn.
It's crazy.
But psychologically, it is brilliant. Hiring a virtual assistant for your business requires a massive upfront investment of your maker time. You have to write standard operating procedures, you have to interview them, train them, review their work.
It's exhausting.
But if you hire a lawn care service, or use Instacart for your groceries, or hire someone to clean your house, you instantly buy back 5 to 10 hours of your weekend.
And there is zero onboarding required. You don't have to train someone on how to deliver your groceries. You get immediate personal leverage, and you can redirect that recovered energy straight back into your zone of genius.
Speaking of energy, as we look at building these guardrails, the sources highlight 2 massive traps that solopreneurs fall into when trying to protect their time. The first is the fantasy of theme days.
Ah, yes. Marketing Mondays, Finance Fridays. They look absolutely beautiful on a color-coded spreadsheet.
But they don't work.
They are a trap because real solo work is fiercely reactive. If your business depends on external clients or shifting timelines, you do not possess the leverage to dictate what happens on a Tuesday.
That makes sense.
If you rigidify your schedule into theme days, the minute an unavoidable emergency occurs, your entire week's architecture collapses. You spend the rest of the week feeling guilty and overwhelmed.
So structure must be built around your energy and availability, not rigid, inflexible buckets.
Exactly.
The second trap is arguably the most common disease among solo founders, the productivity hangover.
Oh, this is so real.
It's viscerally real. It's that scenario where you push through the brain fog, you grind until 2 a.m. to finish a massive project, and when your head finally hits the pillow, you feel like an absolute superhero.
But the biological toll is collected the very next morning.
Exactly. I compare the productivity hangover to hitting the gym way too hard on leg day.
Okay, I like this.
While you're in the gym, the adrenaline is pumping, the music is loud, and you feel invincible. It feels like a massive accomplishment. But you wake up the next morning, and your muscles are so destroyed, you literally cannot walk up the stairs for 3 days. You might have had one great workout, but you completely wreck your overall momentum for the entire week.
It's the exact same thing with deep work. Working late into the night is not generating new productivity. It is simply borrowing energy from tomorrow at an exorbitant predatory interest rate.
A predatory interest rate, wow.
Yeah. You wake up the next day groggy, your executive function and decision-making are compromised, and you end up doing shallow, low-impact work all day just to survive.
So how do we actually prevent it? Because the temptation to keep working when your laptop is always right there, it's incredibly strong.
You must implement a hard, non-negotiable shutdown time, and it has to be paired with a real evening routine.
So not just closing your laptop and immediately doom scrolling on your phone until you pass out.
Definitely not. You need a routine that acts as a physiological signal to your brain that the maker schedule is officially closed. Close out the browser tabs. Write down your single biggest priority for tomorrow on a physical piece of paper so you aren't waking up to a cognitive surprise.
You have to deliberately disconnect in order to fiercely protect tomorrow's energy.
Exactly.
So, bringing all of these frameworks, schedules, and psychologies together, what does this ultimately mean for the solo founder listening right now?
Well, the biggest takeaway is that successful solopreneurship is not about expanding your capacity to do everything. It is fundamentally about narrowing your focus to do the right things.
It requires a profound shift in identity.
Mm-hmm.
You must transition from measuring your daily output, like how many hours you sat at a desk, to measuring your actual impact.
You find your product market fit by obsessing over that 40% threshold.
You identify and fiercely guard your zone of genius, treating the competence and excellence traps like the fast food that they are.
You partition your calendar to protect your maker time from the disaster of random context switching.
You filter your daily noise using a framework that actually aligns with your specific entrepreneur DNA.
And you protect that entire ecosystem by eliminating the useless, automating the repetitive, and buying back your personal time first.
And as we close this analysis, I want to leave you with a final, slightly uncomfortable thought experiment to mull over.
Oh, this is a good one.
We've spent this entire discussion talking about how to optimize your time and hack your calendar. But quite often, the biggest obstacle to a solo founder's growth isn't the clock on the wall. It's the ego in the mirror.
Yeah. Imagine that tomorrow morning, you miraculously wake up and have a highly competent, fully funded team of 10 employees sitting in your living room just waiting for orders.
Look at your actual daily task list from today. Which of those tasks would you be absolutely terrified to let them handle, simply because your ego is attached to doing it yourself perfectly?
Oh, wow. That hits deep.
It really does. Whatever task just flashed into your mind, the one you feel only you can execute with the right touch, that specific task might be the exact bottleneck holding your entire business back from scaling right now.
Because true time management isn't just about scheduling the work, it eventually requires trusting someone else to do it.
That is a phenomenal, confronting question to chew on. Sometimes the absolute hardest part of laying down those train tracks is finally handing the hammer to someone else.
Very well said.
If this deep dive sparked a realization for you, or if you're struggling with a specific bottleneck in your own business and have a stack of resources you want us to analyze, send it over to 2gpodcast.net Ask PI. We build these deep dives specifically for you. You are the pilot, the mechanic, and the navigator of your business right now, but with the right time management engine, you can actually look out the window and enjoy the flight. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
And that's a wrap, SCOO believers. You just experienced the power of AI-driven business insights with Pi and Piet 2.0. Real advice, artificial voices, unlimited potential. If today's episode sparked an idea, challenged your thinking, or gave you that breakthrough moment, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a fellow entrepreneur who needs to hear this. Got a burning business question? Want Pi and Piet to tackle your specific challenge? Head over to tuepodcast.net/askpi and submit your question right now. We'll dive deep into your issue and deliver the actionable strategies you need to get across the start line. Remember, Scoo Believers, the hurdles aren't in the way, the hurdles are the way. Until next time, keep moving forward, keep taking action, and we'll see you in the next episode.